Saudi Arabia allows women to live alone without male permission. So, the Makkah newspaper reported that Saudi Arabia has formally allowed single, divorced, or widowed women to live separately in a house without consent from their father or any other male guardian. Administrative authorities scrapped paragraph B under article number 169 of the Law of Procedure before Sharia Courts, which states that an adult, single, divorced, or widowed woman shall be handed over to her male guardian. In July 2020, Saudi writer Mariam Al Otaibi, 32, won a historic decision ending a 3-year legal fight against her family, which sued her for living and traveling alone under the absenteeism law. Under the old absenteeism law, parents or male guardians were permitted to file a report with the police against a woman in the case of her disappearance or living independently without getting permission from the guardian. So I thought that this was very interesting. I already know what Armin's going to say, but just to give some people some idea of what the consequences of what this ruling are, they're really quite severe. So, well, not the consequences of this ruling, but what this penal code or what this law meant for people who were living there. So there were lots of young women who would reach out to me in terms of getting support and help in terms of their situations of persecution in Saudi Arabia. And so many people talk to me about how them running away from their homes, literally trying to escape life-threatening domestic abuse from their family or forced marriage, and instead of the police helping them, they are actually arrested and sent to prison for trying to run away. And then at some point, they're sent back to the situation where their life is threatened. Just to repeat. So obviously horrible consequences for a system like that. And so it's the bare minimum, but I'm glad this is repealed. I hope that this does contribute even slightly to the quality of life of women in Saudi. And I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say about this.
So I just wanted to give a little bit more background to what you were talking about, Susanna. A few years ago, a young woman, and I unfortunately don't remember her name, was leaving Saudi to go to Australia, I believe, and there was a stopover in the Philippines, and her parents had contacted the airport, and they held her passport and held her in a room until the Saudi authorities came and took her away and brought her back to her family. And then nobody heard much about her for, a really long time. I think some people finally found out some little bit of news, but it's like she just disappeared. And so it not only was Saudi Arabia doing it, but other governments were becoming complicit in this sort of thing. And so, no, I mean, yeah, it's, welcome to the 19th century, but yeah, I mean, it is going to make a big difference for a lot of women.
Yeah, I think, okay, so I know a lot of people already know that I think like these are little token gestures as a way to create cover for a lot of some of the greatest crimes committed by the Saudi regime, by Mohammed bin Salman. Like people say, like, Armin, even small progress is good progress. Again, this is not small progress. This is like a man that single-handedly, well, with the people around him, has been able to commit more human rights violations inside and outside of Saudi Arabia than any of his predecessors, right? So again, there are people, like there are many women rights activists in prison being tortured, and Saudi dissidents are disappearing more than ever before, being executed, being tortured, being imprisoned. And in response, we get token gestures like, "Oh yeah, women can drive now. Okay, now we could go to the theater. Okay, yeah." So you already know that I think that these are basically a way for the media to get something to look like Saudi Arabia is reforming for the better, right? Even though it's reforming for the worse. And the media, and they know exactly what to throw at the media that gets a lot more attention. Like, it's boring to say, I don't know, certain Shia imams are being executed by MBS. Like, who gives a crap? Or like this dissident of that fought for this right that is now legal in Saudi Arabia is still in prison right now and she's being tortured for it. Or she's still like not free and like could go into prison every day. Like, you can say that, and oh yeah, who cares about that? But at the same time, you can say like, what, women can go to the theater? Like, people could go to the theater now. Like, yay! The media is going to be like, oh my god, that's so interesting, Saudi Arabia. And the problem is that Saudi Arabia is so backwards that they have so many things, little things that they could give away like this for a very long time to cover a lot of crimes they're committing. You know what I mean? Like, that's one benefit of being so backward, that even the smallest gesture is going to look like progress, and they have like a million of them to give away because they're so far behind. However, people already knew I'm going to say that. You could still be happy for the people who are benefiting from these small gestures. My problem is not that you shouldn't be happy for them. My problem is not to give credit, not to congratulate the Saudi regime. Okay, they do not deserve credit. These people are evil. I could be like, okay, the women who are driving in Saudi Arabia, for example, right now, okay, like that wanted to drive and couldn't drive, and now they could drive. Am I happy that they can drive right now? Yes, I'm happy that they could drive right now, right? Of course I am, right? Are like these people that now get to live alone without male permission. Is that better than not being able to? Of course it is, right? But do not think like, yay, Saudi Arabia is moving in the right direction. It's not. It's moving in the wrong direction. Again, these are not contradictory positions. I could be like, yes, Saudi Arabia is moving backwards, not forwards. But at the same time, I'm happy for this woman. These are not contradictory positions. Rivka.
So while I absolutely do agree with you in terms of like, when you're so backwards, you can keep giving little, throwing little nuggets out for a long time to make it look like you're doing something. Absolutely. But I think what's interesting about this one in particular is that it doesn't just give them the right to live alone. It also grants them the right to register their childbirth, their marriage, or their divorce, to be issued family documents, and to be eligible to be guardians of children who are minors. So it's enfranchising women in a way that they weren't before. And the reason I think this is interesting and important is that when people start having certain expectations of what they should be allowed to do and what they can do, and their own liberty and their own enfranchisement, oftentimes then they demand more, or they are looking to change more things because they see what it feels like to have some level of participation in a society or in decisions like registering a birth. That could be a really huge thing for someone. So while I also agree that part of the way MBS, and we've said this before, does this is he tries to make people think that nothing they do is going to affect whether the changes come or not. They come from him. But at the same time, I think people can still work on demanding more freedom and hopefully making some other changes from their own empowerment and taking these even small gestures and turning them into something bigger for themselves.
So Matt brought up this comment that I thought was very good. So Matt is a Saudi expat, and he says, That's going to be bad in the beginning, just as how it was bad for when women were allowed to drive for the first time, when they got beaten up by men because it wasn't common and considered somewhat haram. So I think this is a very good point that there may be backlash. Well, it is legal, for it to be more societally acceptable, let alone without consequence, may take some time. But to have the legal right and ability to do so is obviously one of the most important first steps.
And also, to Matt's point, I think that's very valid. And also, sometimes it takes a little bit of an education campaign for women to know that they have these rights. There was a similar thing that happened in Morocco with women and divorce and domestic violence. But most of the women, especially in the villages, had no idea that the law had changed or that they had now gained some sort of enfranchisement or protection under the law. So it took several years and some education campaigns for these people to, even know that that was an option for them.
Very good point, Marmon.
Yeah. So another thing to point is that it's also possible that it's in the Saudi government's calculation to make sure that its people understand that this is a gift from them and not them giving into pressure, right? So this might also, we're doing this because we on our own have recognized that you deserve this, and we, out of our kindness of our heart, are trying to modernize. It's not like anybody, do not think like you guys protested and put us under pressure and now we're giving into that, because we don't want to encourage you. Like if you see this as a defeat, then it would encourage protest and rebellion. So do not see this as a defeat. This is a victory because we are so gracious that we're giving you rights and stuff, right? So be appreciative, and thank us, instead of being like, okay, now we want more, because you get more when we decide you get more, not when you demand more. Okay? It's going to be on our timing, not based on your demands. Okay? So even when we do token gestures, when we're giving you certain rights, we make sure to punish the people who fight for those rights at the same time. So okay, women can drive now, but all the women who fought for the ability for women to drive go to prison. While we make women driving legal, we're going to punish the people who demanded it, so that you guys recognize that this was not because of your pressure. We're going to come down on the scent harder than last time, okay? Harder than last time. So you know your place. You know where you belong, right? If we're eating and we're just feeding you some crumbs, don't ask for an entire meal. Stay on your knees and say thank you. That's where you belong, on your goddamn knees. Okay. Anything you want to add?
No, you pretty much nailed it.
Hey guys, if you're a fan of Blasphemy and Sexy Callie, like me, then you need to be sure to subscribe to our newsletter, link in the description below. Because if you subscribe, we will send you a free copy of our Blasphemous Art ebook. And let me tell you, it is the tastiest blasphemy that you can find anywhere available today. And we are so generous with our blasphemy that we continue to send you more blasphemy every week. So make sure to subscribe, link in the description below.